Better and Longer podcast. My name is Justin Moor, President CEO at the Area Office on Aging. Today we have a very special guest, honored to have with us here today, Bishop Daniel Thomas of the Diocese of Toledo. I'm eternally grateful to this man for ordaining me as a deacon about 7 years ago. Welcome to the Better and Longer podcast, Bishop Thomas.
Justin, thank you so much, and delighted to be with your viewers and listeners, and glad to engage on this very, very important topic for society and for us as a church.
That's right. So today we're focusing on aging through the lens of faith. When you, maybe let's start off a little bit about just how maybe your childhood growing up, what was that experience of faith like? And just to set the backdrop for our viewers a little bit on mine, I'll share first and then ask you to share.
Sure.
So growing up, my great-grandfather, I remember very distinctly his 100th birthday, and my dad rented one of those big spotlights you see in the sky and had a big banner out by the road saying happy 100th birthday, Poppy, which was his beloved nickname that we called him. And people would be honking and he'd be waving as people went by. And he lived to be 104 years old up until the last year of his life. He lived in his own home, mowed his own grass, drove his own car, cooked his own food, so on and so forth. And even an eye doctor that did cataract surgery on him loved his last name, Goodsight. And he started some local television commercials growing up. So I remember as a young kid, we'd have a TV at the breakfast table. I'd be eating breakfast, and my grandpa would come on TV and just
Oh my goodness,
walking out to the school bus with a great sense of, being impressed that he's my grandpa. I admired his longevity. I admired his independence. So for me, aging was something that was celebrated growing up. His daughter, my grandmother, I remember just talking about how she wanted to live to be 100. So this aspirational goal of living longer was something that was really ingrained in me, and and my heart was formed for the work that we do at the Area Office on Aging at a very young age. So that's a little bit about kind of my experience growing up, dealing with this topic of aging and being around older adults and how it's kind of influenced my view on this subject. It was beautiful, and I want to share that beauty with others. So can you share a little bit about your experience growing up?
Sure. What a rich background for your present work. Yeah. And for myself, I had the advantage of having my paternal grandparents for a good long while. Sadly, my maternal grandparents both passed away by the time I was 1 year old. Wow. So I did not have the gift of knowing them well, but I knew them through memory. And I think that's something that's very important as well. For me, it was the formation that my parents gave my brother and me. And in that formation, it was always a profound respect for human life. And that extended from the womb to the tomb, so to speak. And that obviously included the elderly. And I happened to have a cousin on each side of my family, one who was mentally challenged. At that time, you would have said handicapped, so mentally disabled. And we had a great and deep love for him, and he lived longer than most would have expected. And then we also had on the other side of the family a very, very seriously disabled and bedridden cousin who was cared for beautifully by his family, who lived into old age. And after, of course, my own parents and their aging was something that I learned from deeply. And then my dad's aunt, my great aunt, interestingly, lived to 103. Wow. And she was in her own home, I think, through 99 years old, getting up on the dining room table and cleaning the chandelier. And she was a fireball and just filled with spirit and life. And I recall very, very vividly my last visit with her, and then I was able, by God's grace, to offer her funeral mass. In my last visit with her, I took her to the sunroom of the nursing home where she was, and she, reiterated to me that at this age, all of her children, all her grandchildren, all her friends, everyone was gone. And she said she wondered why the Lord was keeping her going. And I said, it's because of your good spirit and you have a lot more to pray for. And then she looked at her hands, which were absolutely, deformed from severe arthritis. So literally all her fingers, and many of us have seen this with arthritic patients, were all, if you will, twisted in the same direction. And with great good humor, and absolute self-deprecatory sense, she said, "Now look at this." She says, "If somebody asks directions, I can't even point anymore because they're all pointed in the same direction." But it was that kind of joy that also showed me that she had never lost, the interior joy, which comes from grace.